Tango 1 at the top, we are at Papa Coco. 10-4, Tango 1, you have control. Tango 1 copy. Stand by. Stand by.
Integrity, passion, resilience. That's what this place was built on. That's what our community is founded on. Don't act like the example, just be the example. This is the home of the greatest fitness community in the world. We're trying to create strong, able bodies, resilient to injury with a gas tank to get shit done. If there's one thing from this podcast, it's about taking immediate action, find the problem, fix the problem. This is your opportunity. It's either a hell yes or a fuck no. It's that simple. You're ruining the Tango 1 podcast. Now is the time to take action. Now's the time to do more and be more.
Whenever, Colt, doesn't matter, right? You can keep them going as long as you want.
All right, welcome to the Tango 1 podcast. I'm your host, Tony Smith. I'm here with my wife, the Mrs. Smith, Dani Smith, today. We're going to talk about Mexico, where we're shooting this from the balcony. I have no idea how the sound is going to turn out today. I have no idea how any of this is going to turn out, but we're going to have some fun with it regardless. If it ends up just being me and you having some tequila. So welcome to the show, Mrs. Smith.
Oh, thank you. I have this Mexico book here.
I'm going to need you to speak really, really loud from the mic. All right?
Buenas noches, Senor Smith.
Awesome, man. We got my son. He's recording a few things. Golden in the background. He's really taking a love for all things like kind of marketing and video and editing. And we love that about him. And I hope we're going to be able to teach him more and more as he becomes more involved in the podcast. So back in the background, shout out to my boy, Colt Smith, Goldilocks in the background. All right. So welcome to the show, guys. We want to talk today. We got a bottle of tequila. I have some tecates. We are on a nice, beautiful balcony here in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. We're somewhere, I don't know, about 30K outside of Playa del Carmen in a really, like, to be honest, swanky kind of resort, I guess, that I was lucky enough to, we were lucky enough to get from my mom. And, but we've been coming off of like a really, really cool trip with the boys. And we're just really pumped to kind of talk about it and share a little bit of our travel experience with you guys. They're cool.
Yeah, this is definitely fancier than what we're used to. I think that when we had our first few days on an island that was very let's say backpackerish, that's more our jam, but it's also nice to go from maybe a place where you are standy all the time and maybe have less luxuries to coming to another place that is totally different, like a 180, and be able to enjoy some of the, let's say, nicer things as well that you would be used to in like, daily life.
Yeah, no, I think for us, our background in traveling, like both you and I, of course, when we were younger, we hit the all-inclusives, we did the Cancuns, we did the, the Cabos, the Acapulcos, all those great things. But I mean, I remember the turning point for me. I was about 22 years old. I was in Cuba.
Do you remember it?
I do, actually. And I was in Cuba with a girl, and I had booked a like a 2-week stay. And after about 4 days, I was so sick of being on this resort and so curious what Cuba had to offer that I started traveling. So I started traveling basically, and we ended up staying an extra week. And I traveled backpack through Cuba for almost 2.5 weeks. From that point on, I was just kind of like, you know what? All-inclusives and resorts are beautiful. They're great. They serve a purpose. However, I really think that if you just if we're in Windsor one day and then woke up the next day in any country, I wouldn't be able to tell which country I was in other than the drink of the day, I guess, and maybe the language or the dialect, the race or whatever you want to say of the people that were working there. Whether you be in Jamaica or in Cuba or Mexico or in Costa Rica. I found that, getting out to travel in these places allowed us to really experience these countries and South America, Central America. I know we're in North America right now. I consider Mexico, Central America. I don't know why in my head it always is Central America. I have no idea why. But anyways, that's been my infatuation with traveling and backpacking. When many people are doing Europe, I was doing this, and then when we got together, we started doing this together, and it's always kind of been a thing. And this is our first trip with the boys. So, what do you think was like? What were your goals on this trip with the boys? Specifically for that, not just for you.
No, I am pretty laid back when it comes to traveling. I feel like I don't have necessarily goals for a travel experience, but having the boys with us, having them learn to be able to see the real culture of where we're going. So not necessarily staying in a place that looks similar to the place that we live, or maybe similar to a place that we've been before. I think that being able to see and speak and read and experience and taste all of the different aspects of each culture, and for this one it would be in Mexico, that's important to me. I think that realizing that different people live differently in all areas of the world, I want them to experience that and see kind of like what they like or what they don't like, or what they think is interesting and what they can learn from it.
Right, kind of hypocritical because we're speaking from this balcony, this beautiful, this is like, what do they call this place? A Five Diamonds resort. Like, this place is amazing. We're talking about this resort a little bit more in the future of this and more later in this episode, but it was very important for Dani and I for the kids to experience Mexico for what it was. And I think like when you stay in a resort and, you know, I know people go on excursions and tours, but I'm telling you guys, that is not the country you're visiting. That is a very detailed, you get in a line, you walk with your yellow life jackets and, you know, go jump in the snorkeling hole and you swim for 1 hour. That's not Mexico. That's not Cuba. That's not Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Brazil. Those are all the countries that we've like loved to explore. We've backpacked through, we've driven through, and we've lived where we are the only, you know, it's a different experience too when you're the only white people, the only English speaking people within a certain area. And for us, it was super important to bring the boys somewhere like that where we can be, you know, more like indulge in the culture, I guess. And that's what we did for the first half of this trip. So leading up to it, our boys are homeschooled. You guys have heard us say that before. Leading up to it, you did a really good job of like kind of prepping this, you know, from a teacher standpoint from this trip. Like, what did you do? What did the boys study? What did they look at?
Well, the easiest place to start was kind of where Colton, our oldest, is in school. I think learning about ancient civilizations and different cultures, for instance. And I mean, Braun, I mean, a lot of those topics can cover each other. It doesn't have to be just his grade. So we started with the Mayans and kind of like their background and their history. However, I did go through a lot of that. So we went through just a whole lot about their gods and the things that are important to them, the way that they make their clothes, kind of like the history, the back set of
the
it.
Mayans.
Yes. However, then I realized that we should probably talk about what it looks like modern day, because for a while there, it was like, okay, they're going to get to Mexico and they're going to be like, this doesn't look like what we were just talking about. Because I think as kids and maybe in school, we have this I remember learning about things and then not feeling like that was actually what I was learning about when I actually understood it or saw it, for instance. So then we went into the specific places that we were going to visit so that they could maybe understand before they got there what it would seem like modern day as well.
Yeah, so whoever's not familiar, we're in the Yucatan Peninsula, right? Which is where it's very well known for the Mayan culture, which was, I mean, the Mayans were known for building these amazing pyramids, these amazing, like, in the jungles, and like the heart of the jungle. The Mayan people were known for being very short. They had the pointy heads. Like it's a very cool, like, worship the jaguars and, you know, and sacrifices. There, it's very, very cool background of the culture. And listening to my son actually is now Colton, my oldest, is like teaching me about these things, and which has been very cool. We're gonna talk about the trip leading up to where we are today in this nice place. But we're in this like very, like I said, a very, very swanky type, like it's a hotel. It's not a really resort. It's not all inclusive. We have these massive pools. There's a water park here, and there's nothing our boys want more than what we're about to do tomorrow, which I hope we're going to talk about actually on the next episode, which we'll maybe shoot in a couple days, is to go to the Chichen Itza, which is the massive ruins, which, you know, I guess if you're from layman's terms, we call them ruins, but they're like these giant pyramids built in the middle of the jungle, one of the 7 wonders of the world. I've been here, I don't know, 15 times probably in this area. and I've never seen them. I can't wait. But to see that the boys are so pumped to go to the jungle and see this thing tomorrow. We were lucky enough. We met some people here who hooked us up with a friend, and we're going basically like we're going with a guy from this area, and we're going just us, and we're not doing the tour bus thing. We're making our way there together, and I cannot wait for that tomorrow. So that's like kudos to you for like sparking their interest in this kind of thing.
Oh, I don't spark anything. They already love what they love, and I follow their lead. So I usually will give them somewhat of a suggestion or a couple suggestions. And when we talk about things, kids just want to learn and think things are cool either way. So I'm not the one who's leading the way. They're usually the ones who are.
People are down below in the balcony wondering what the fuck is going on as they look up here. Anyways, so what I think is awesome for us, and I truly think like guys, get out of the all-inclusives. If you love them, I understand it. We're gonna talk a little bit more about that later, but like for us, you don't have to completely go roughing it. Like you can do part and part, and that's what we did with this trip. This is our first true backpacking trip with the boys, and we decided to spend the first half of the trip kind of backpacking, making our way like Dani and I used to do in our travels all the time, and getting back into that because that's really what we love. And then spending the last half of this trip more of like in a luxury or leisure, I guess, way. So for us, here's how the trip started. We woke up 6 a.m. Or 6 a.m. flight out of Detroit, 4 straight hours. Boom, we landed. It was a beautiful flight. Spirit, everybody say what you want, but man, fucking Spirit, like everybody complains, but they told you up front, they're transparent. You don't get water, you don't get extras, you get your seat and you go. And it was $1,000 Canadian for us to fly here, which is wild. We signed up, we got a beautiful little boutique hotel in Holbox, spelled Holbox, Holbox island, a little island about 250 kilometers from Cancun for $79 a night. That hotel was absolutely beautiful. So we hit the runway here in Cancun, grab a taxi. We had to negotiate our way. We had to speak Spanish. My boys call it charades, what I'm doing, because I don't really speak Spanish. I know a lot of Spanish words, and they've come to know a lot of Spanish words. You know a lot of Spanish words, but we do not speak Spanish by any means. And especially traveling all of South America, it's always been different with the dialects are different. It's so like, we haven't been to Mexico really in a while. I mean, Panama, Colombia sounds totally different. So we get here, boom, we hit the road running. We hit about 2.5 hours in a cab. Then we have to negotiate a water taxi across the ocean. My oldest was terrified of this water taxi, which probably comes from me, right?
Yeah, he looked like you looked like on our first trip together.
Yeah, I hate the water. I don't hate the water. I love the water. I hate being in the water in big waves. It terrifies me. And
always, when I go into the ocean, you're like, I can see the like tenseness in your body, because I'll take like, maybe go up to maybe chest level, and you're like, nope, you gotta come back. Nope, come back. You're not, you don't like.
No, I do. I like the water. I like the water. I like
the pool.
The pool. I like being at the ocean. Weird enough, I've snorkeled and I've gone on insane trips. You and I, we talked about this podcast.
I don't think you were sober on those trips.
Going on like the little boat built out of 2x4s, 4 hours across the ocean in Panama. We've done some crazy things, and I hate it every time. When I get there, I'm so happy. But you can see it in my own. It's so funny how we talk about how your kids take on some of your persona and some of the things that, I don't think I've ever said that to him, and he can see it, and you can now see that he's living it. So if you think that you not doing things and you being scared of things and maybe not ever speaking that your kids don't notice, you're scared of public speaking. Your kid will be scared of public speaking because of you, and it was very obvious on that boat across that little taxi, and it was only a 40-minute ride across the ocean, and a very calm ocean at that. And then boom, we hit the island in Holbox. Grab it. No cars there. It's all mud roads. 4x4 taxis are the only kind of mode of transportation, and your feet. And we walk, and it was 100 degrees, and we're carrying these big backpacks. We've been up since 6 a.m. and we're trying to find our way. There's no street signs, there's nothing. Make our way to a hotel, and man, after that, just unreal. What were your thoughts on Holbox?
Holbox was very much like how we usually travel. So it's a beautiful place. There's lots of backpackers. You can just tell by their vibe, and Also, the fact that they look like they're unwashed for probably about 6 days.
The tourists, not the.
No, the people who live there, not the people who are visiting there. But everyone just wants to like experience somewhere that maybe a lot of people have not experienced before. So you can just tell. Most people not wearing shoes. So a lot of the island, you could just walk around with bare feet. It was very sandy. So I love that. I don't wear shoes ever. So I like not wearing shoes. The boys finally, after a day or so, got used to that, and not wearing shoes was kind of like the thing, which is awesome to see. I like seeing them get out of their comfort zone in that way. But yeah, just a beautiful beach, very laid back, not expensive, very much of the Mexican culture with a little bit of like newness, I guess, modernness, which is nice to have sometimes too.
Yeah, a little bit, very little bit, I would say, like more than I expected. We learned about this place from Marissa Williams, who worked for me, and she went to Tulum recently, and this is where I kind of like get my age. Like I had been to Tulum 25 years ago. I told Marissa she was having the best time. It was like super chill, very little tourists. When I went there, it was so not built up. There was nothing. I remember pulling up their rental car, and there was literally fucking nothing but these ruins and a couple of like spots to grab a nice cold beer on the beach. And she said it was completely tourist, and she had recommended this place. Now we get here, and that was the same vibe that Tulum had 25 years ago for me. And with the boys and what you're talking about, like being in the mud and the sand, and it's so funny because people are like, you should watch out for Mexico, like El Chapo, the cartel, you're gonna take it hostage. So fucking funny is that we actually gave our boys more liberty staying on this tiny little island, more freedoms than they do at home. The boys were running down the street to grab whatever. They were going down to the pool to grab whatever. They were, they had freedoms that they were not used to having. And it was beautiful to see them like, take that responsibility on, and the older brother looking up for the little brother looking up for the older brother, and like love that part about it. That was, to me, my absolute highlight of the first part of this trip, watching the boys just excel. And me and Colt are out walking one night. We went to get food and grab us a couple of drinks, you and I, and we're walking down the dirt road. There's dogs running around. The Mexican culture, they eat dinner very late there. And the people that work on that island that are like very busy, that make their living off of people like me and you, are now just getting out of work, and they're out on the streets and they're saying hi to us, and they're having drinks, they're having their dinner, the kids are running around. And I don't know that we would feel safer in downtown Amherst than we did on that little island of Hawash.
No, I think we felt very safe. Listen, I've been to Mexico, and I've been to places off the beaten path before, and yes, you can understand that it's a different country. You can't be, you can't walk around and just be like not aware of that. That's not a good thing either. It's not
head on a swivel always when you're traveling.
No
Anywhere.
No matter where you are, you can't just think that like, oh, nothing could potentially happen. However, I think that no matter where I've been in the world, there's always that threat. Whether we're in Detroit, whether we're in Chicago, whether we're in Vegas. Like I remember being way more scared going with you to Vegas after that shooting that they had in the last, I don't know how many years ago that was, but from the hotel into that concert. I remember being more terrified. One, because when I'm traveling, I think without the kids, I'm more worried about what could happen if I'm not there. But I felt way more concerned going to Vegas with you than coming to a tiny island in Mexico with the whole family.
Yeah, when we went to Vegas that last time, that was right after the shooting at the country concert where the guy was, had a sniper rifle, he opened fire, and there had been a series of events like that. And I agree. I mean, we talk about, worry about South America, worry about this, man. You're fucking flying out of Detroit. You're traveling, you're going to Chicago, you're going to the very, very dangerous cities in the United States, and you're okay with that. I think no matter where you go, head on a swivel. I feel that these countries, for the most part, We've been to some places that are wild. We were in Rio de Janeiro. There was a gunfight. There was a gun battle literally outside of our balcony. That's my
Tell them
fault.
why.
That's my fault. I booked a cheap Airbnb and we were in the edge of the
In
ghetto.
the favela, which is ghetto, and you
Yes.
wanted to save some money, so we were in a place where no one would come pick us up.
It was beautiful though. It was beautiful.
Okay, sort of.
But we proved though that like doing the things that we do help. You know, like so that favela in Brazil. Yes, there was shooting, and that was way down the street. That was, I mean, not down the street. That was way down. It just sounds loud because we're in the, you know. But walking through the favela, we made a point to say hi to every single person, to look people in the eyes, to make. When you're traveling, it's very important. When you're anywhere, it's very important that you make yourself a known person to them. And like, I'm not known. They don't know my name. They don't know who I am. But I'm not just a faceless victim. I look them in the eye, I look everybody in the eye and say hi. You know, so that I become somebody that they recognize. Nobody wants to victimize somebody that they feel like they have any kind of connection with. And I think that's a very important lesson for people. Am I smoking you out with this? Your eyes are like beet red.
So fine.
So if you guys are watching this on YouTube, first time ever, Tango and Podcast, I've been able to have a cigar. Look at this beautiful set we have right now. But anyways, back to Mexico and all these great things. So another cool thing, we're on the 6WT right now, the 6-week transformation of the garage jam. Danny and I, obviously that's our background. Danny's in nutrition. So one thing, we're in Holbox, and because it's hard, because there's very little air conditioning, there's very little amenities. North Americans, Canadians, Americans, barely any North Americans at all. And this is the part that's really fucking eye-opening to that. And for me, looking around, I mean, we were probably the mid-range traveler as terms of age. It was not a young place by means, but there was a lot of young people, but there was a lot of people 60, 70, you know, pushing in probably their 80s. There was so few obese people there, so few people that were overweight. It was mind-blowing. And I think that speaks to the connection of, we're not going to just get all the fucking nachos and pizza and free hamburgers and beers that we can drink. So we're going for an experience, and we are going to have some nachos, some pizza, some beers. But it was crazy. Like the women that were, you know, 20 years older than you, I'm looking at them like, oh my God, like this is great. Like they're in the bikinis, they're in like, you know, the like part thongs, like the way people looked was different than they look here, right here at this resort. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's differences in different countries for sure, in the way that people are more active perhaps, or maybe they have better access to good food and farms and that kind of thing. Whereas people in the United States and a lot of Canada rely on convenience foods and boxed items and things that are not whole foods. So I think that plays into it for sure. I think that different people from different countries also value activity and good health more than others. So I think that plays into it. So there's definitely a correlation between people who live in those countries versus, or people that just have, I think, a general sense of, if you feel like you are someone who is perhaps a little more active or a little bit more apt to go the extra mile, then that's like Holbox, right? Like most people who want to go somewhere where it's like an all-you-can-eat buffet are not looking to do the extra steps that the people who want to go to Holbox do. So that kind of plays into that as well. It's almost like separating the differences between kind of what you want to do for the extra mile.
Yeah, I agree. So like people who are listening, a lot of fitness-minded people, a lot of garage gym people listening here, what we're saying is like, I know that you guys are very proud of traveling to to the Mayan, where we are right now, and doing the all-inclusive. I know you're very proud of that, and it's a very fun time for you, but I am telling you, if you just took this one little extra step and tried what we're talking about, this will fit your lifestyle so incredibly. And what is an all-inclusive cost? Like we're looking at them, right? We're going to one soon. It's $2,400, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome. I'm not complaining about that whatsoever, saying it's not gonna be fun. This trip, I mean, we're talking $1,000 flights for our family, total for our family. We were talking about $1,000 lodging in Hobosh for a week. Not even. We went to dinner and had the best, completely authentic Mexican dinner, no shoes on, sitting on the third floor with, dogs running around, where the waiters, like by day two, knew the family, we were like high-fiving the kids on the way in and way out for $25 US. And that included our drinks. Like, that is crazy. What you guys are missing out on with the experience that we're trying to talk you into having is just on another level. And you don't have to go to Europe to have it. You can go down here, which is where we are very passionate about traveling, because I find that the people down in South America are the most, and I say, like, we're not really in South America, Central and North America, the tip, are the most accommodating and wanting to just show you their culture. And what's very important to us, like the boys, like even if the waiters can speak English, our boys are trying their best to speak Spanish, and so are we. And I think that is definitely what I would tell anybody to do. It. It's just been an absolutely awesome experience. And seeing the people around us, these Europeans, those are the ones that I want to model ourselves after. I'm sure there's North Americans like that, but not many. The Europeans, these people they look great, they look healthy, they're having fun, and they aren't just sitting at the bar smashing drinks. They're having drinks, but they're not just sitting at the bar smashing drinks. They're enjoying the experience of walking around these streets, going to the beach, immersing themselves in the culture. And I think that was the best part for me.
Well, but I also think that when you are in a certain place, that is, let's say you are at a resort, typically they are making your experience centered around that. So it's centered around a swim up bar or alcohol, and all you can drink. You're still paying for it. It's not free. So when you are there, that's kind of like if you don't go the extra mile, that's really the only thing to be doing, right? Whereas if you go somewhere like we are, where it's not all inclusive, or if you do go to, let's say, an island like we were a few days ago, you have to make your own fun. You have to go do the things that you want to do, because if you want to go do those things, that's fine, but it's not so easily accessible. So I think that doing that and going the extra mile, you don't even have to do that. If you are at a place and you want to go out, even just cross the street, usually most places where you are, let's say somewhere, let's say Cancun, or let's say Playa del Carmen. If you go across the street, usually you can find a taco place that's going to cost you that much money. It's going to cost you, 50 cents a taco or whatever. But you maybe are scared to do it, or maybe you aren't quite sure about it. But I'm thinking that if you did, you wouldn't regret it.
If you go to any of those countries that we've talked about down here,
it's not that hard to find.
I can tell you from experience, if you say to the cab driver, or man, even the guy bringing your bags up to the room, if you say to him, where do I go? Donde está le tacos mejores mexicana, no gringo. So yeah, I want to go to the place, where it has the best. Where do you go? I don't want to go where the gringos are, which
How would you do that in charades?
Oh, those words work, because that's the ones I've memorized. That's where I go on every single trip. When I say that to them, no gringos, they light up, man. The cab driver, the cab drivers come in with us half the time because they want to show us what to order. And we're like the first time my son's had Coca-Cola and Fanta and all those things here that we used to drink when we were kids are huge. And here, the kids are in there, they're having their first Coca-Cola, and they're they're eating eyeball tacos and cheek tacos and tongue tacos.
Okay, but you don't have to do that.
You don't have to do that. But
you can get normal beef, or pork.
Yeah, El Pastor and the Bisteca and all these things that are, but they're these guys are in there so proud to just show up, just like I would be if somebody came to my house, and I would want to show them the best things that I can offer from my culture. And that part is awesome. I think oh man, that's my favorite part, is actually just going around and eating the food, seeing our boys eat the food. So now here we are now in Playa del Carmen, and like I said, this is like a 6-star place. And we were hesitant, you know, I'm super grateful my mom was able to book this place for us, and you know, we wanted to bring the boys. You know, we talk about this backpacking, and we're glamorizing it, but there's a lot of like, you know, shitty parts with the backpacking thing too. Like, everything we carried was in our backpacks. We don't have big beach towels, we don't have beach chairs, and you know, so when you go to the beach, it's like you're not like, you know, it's not like on the resort where the chairs are there, they bring up the towels. You know, there's a little bit of roughing it at that point. So we wanted to have some fun, and super happy to go to like pools and all these things. But this place that we're at, this is the first time I've gone anywhere in countries like this that has not been backpacker or all inclusive. This one is, it's pay as you go. Everything here is pay as you go. So there's
I think
restaurants.
it's actually European plan.
They call that European plan. You're right. They call it European plan. And for us, what we've noticed is that almost the same thing as full bosh. There's very few North Americans here. The gluttony, that like the lineups and the people just hoarding food and the disgustingness that comes with all inclusives, like there's a lot of greatness, but the disgustingness that comes with it is not happening here because you're paying for your drinks, you're you know, and you're paying for your food, and it's very reasonably priced. We're getting a higher quality food. You and I are drinking less and really making more of an experience rather than sitting at a swim up bar ordering, you know, Shirley Temples for the kids and pina coladas for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think that having a grocery store here is helpful. So we've been buying some foods to have for breakfast or dinner or lunch or something, so that cuts down on cost.
Right, we have a kitchen. We have a kitchen here.
Yes.
People understand, yes.
Having a kitchen is nice, just because, especially with kids, like, I mean, I'm not really interested, whether I'm at home or on vacation, in having certain foods for the kids every day, like having, you know, hot dogs and hamburgers every day. That's not a normal part of our life anyway, so why would I do that on a vacation setting? So we've been doing that, and that's been nice, and the prices have been really good. They have fresh fruit and veggies. They have actual meat in the grocery store refrigerator and freezer, so that's been really nice. So we've been really eating well, and I just like that part of it. I don't care for, like I said to you today, I think that the quality of the food is higher because it's kind of like paid for as you go, instead of just making these large amounts of food for breakfast and lunch and dinner and just piling them on because they know that people are going to come back for seconds, thirds.
Right. And the European style, even when we're ordering, today I ordered tacos for our family, and we ordered, it's all like individual. So I don't know, you call that a la carte, I guess, or, you know, so we order 8 tacos basically, but it doesn't come with fries and nachos and all this extra salads. Like, it's like you order whatever you order. So I ordered just 2 tacos each. And this is funny for the people on 6WT, and I'm the worst for this. I would have eaten 8 tacos if they were there. I had 2 tacos and immediately had remorse that I was like, fuck, I need more food. 10 minutes later, I realized like I'm full. Like, and that, like, because we were paying by the go, and like honestly, like I talked to people about, like, so even cut out the whole Bosch trip, take our $1,000 Canadian that we paid to get here, you know, our stay here, we're still gonna be less buying our food a la carte and the groceries that we're buying than we would be if we're paying for an all-inclusive. Yes, you know, I'm not having 50 shots of tequila and 10 daiquiris and a case of beer a day, but like I feel healthier, I feel better. And we've made this a beautiful, beautiful discovery, which is called this Tequila Azul. Not sponsored, but this stuff is like $15 a bottle, and it's fucking amazing. We're drinking it like it's water. It's like, we love it. And like Dani, you know, you read her post this week, like tequila is the shit when it comes to, like, you know, your efficiency for your calories and your carbs. So you can talk about that a little bit more. I know this one's sponsored by HQ Nutrition. We want to thank them. Even though I'm on vacation, HQ Nutrition still becomes a part of our lives. You can go and use code Tango15 or go to the garage gym, order anything you want. We've got our Focus here, we've got our Test Boost, and all those other great things that keep us moving on, we're talking about workouts a little bit, but talk about tequila, man. Tequila Talks. That's the name of this episode, Tequila Talks.
Oh,
Tell people about this beautiful.
well, I don't know. I haven't gotten through all the studies yet, but tequila is known for a lot of health benefits, and whether they're proven or not, it seems to be the case in the sense of like, if you're drinking it, like for instance, like a Blanco or something that says 100% agave, which Azul is not, then you're looking at a pretty good, let's say, quality of health benefits, and you can test it out for yourself. So a little bit of lower blood pressure, maybe the sugar alcohols aren't very high, so it doesn't seem like it's something that is going to raise your blood sugar. It looks like it's something that could help with fat loss or weight loss, because it seems to have a satiety effect too. And again, like, I mean, I could be talking out of my ass right now, but tequila is where it's at when you're drinking it. It's not very easy to drink and gulp and drink a whole bunch at one time, so that's helpful as well. But I think that it is something that's nice to sip on, and you can find a taste that you prefer, whether it's on ice or not. And I just find that it's something easy to drink that you don't have to add the extra, flavors to. So whether you're going to drink, like, let's say for instance a rye and Coke. I mean, most of the time you're probably not going to drink just a rye straight. Some people do, sure, but I just think that tequila has a nicer flavor for drinking it either neat or on the rocks.
Yeah, I mean, I love all my booze neat or on the rocks. Tequila is something special in terms of, we've drank a considerable amount of tequila on this trip, and not once have I woke up even remotely hungover. We've been in bed at a decent hour. We got our workouts in, we're getting our steps in, and we talk about like fitness and being on vacation. And Michael Easter, a guy who I've had on this podcast, who talks about the rocking and all that, he says only 2% of the people will take the stairs over the escalators. And this we're in this massive complex. There's trams that kind of get you everywhere here, but there's these beautiful back boardwalks that you walking right through the jungle. It's actually truly beautiful and amazing. And we are getting in, the amount of steps we're getting in is insane. And that part has been like, I feel great. We have some shots here, we have some tequilas here, yes, some Tecates, we're having some beers. Dani, she likes the Corona Lights, I like the Tecates. I switched to Tecate Light for this trip, but it's been like, I feel good. I feel so much better about myself. I'm not waking up feeling like shit and feeling like I'm wasting any of my vacation because of booze, but I'm still enjoying booze. And I think that's important. Like, so many trips in my life, I forget, like good times I'll never remember, right? Good things I'll never forget, something like that, whatever it is, that term. But there's so many of my trips in my life that have been like that. And this trip, is not like that at all. I'm enjoying all of it, and I'm having drinks, the kids are playing, but I'm also like getting up and playing, and like I'm coming home and having drinks with you. And I think it's because of our choices with that, and our conscious effort to, like, yes, we're working out every day, but to just walk everywhere, to make sure that we're walking and moving and not like sitting still. Like, like every resort is being not an all-inclusive doesn't matter. It also has multi-pools. So it's like a couple hours at one pool. Hey, let's go change scenery with the boys. Let's go to a different beach. Let's go to this place. Let's go to this pool. And that part's been awesome because we're nonstop moving, which means that we're not getting like lethargic at point.
Well, I think you're making deliberate choices. So sometimes when obviously alcohol can create times when you don't make actual choices, it's making the choice for you. If you're drinking more, and let's say you are drinking and not really having to sign your name off of each drink, then your inhibitions go down, and then you drink more and more and more, and then that's where that kind of comes into play. And then the next morning you're like hungover and you can't make those choices because you feel like crap. So I think that being in this position and making those deliberate choices is where you feel better. And you make a deliberate choice to go to the gym, and you make a deliberate choice to walk instead of taking the tram, and that comes into play in all you're deciding to make a choice of, think about if you're sitting on the beach and you are, you know, half a case deep, and then you say like, hey, do you want to go back to the room and cook dinner? Like, what's your answer gonna be? No, I'm gonna order from this señorita or señor, and he's gonna bring me like 8 tacos, probably more. I'm gonna eat those while I drink more beers, and then that's where those choices become where you feel crappy.
Yeah, and being here too with like so many Europeans and South Americans, and then very few North Americans, like it's been pretty obvious. Like you look out at the pool, and this pool here has gotta be, it's gotta be the size of a city block. I've never seen anything like it. Like I've been a lot of places. This is by far the biggest pool. And crowded around this little tiny pool bar are all the North Americans. And it's kind of made it a very obvious, like, you know, like we're talking 6WT, like surround yourself.
How can you tell that they're North Americans? Because they tell you all the time?
It's screaming loud. They're getting smashed. They're like annihilated. 1, 2, 3 in the afternoon. I've been there, guys. I'm just saying I'm making this realization myself. But also extremely overweight, sunburned, which you and I talked about. Our oldest son is very, very, he's blonde, super blonde and pale. But we're finding that he's not burning. You know, like, and you talked about this, there's actual science behind it that like the healthier you are, the less you burn. Like,
Yeah.
this is crazy. Like, it's crazy. And we're seeing these people and you're like, it's kind of like, hey, do I want to be with these people or those people? And it's like, you know, we've kind of fit more in over here these days. And it doesn't mean I'm not having, like, I don't know if the 2 hours has gone by where I haven't had a drink on this trip. But it's a different vibe. It's a different feel. And I think like, it's almost like we've kind of one-upped ourselves by surrounding ourselves with all these people here that are just not like the people we've gone with on trips in the past.
Well, it just depends on what kind of trip you want to have. So I feel like, yes, there is some science behind the sun and how likely you are to burn or how likely you are to not burn. When it comes to our children, we make a very explicit point to make sure that they're eating very high quality foods and making sure that they're all whole foods. Obviously there's times when there's convenience foods in there as well, but we try very hard. I know I make a very conscious effort every single day to make sure that the kids are eating something that I would be proud of, so that they grow up and they are not fighting a disease, not fighting any kind of like harm because of my choices. So on that note, we do find that Fulton, who's very fair, he tends to be okay in the sun, and whether that's the case or not, with real foods, that seems to be the way that the science is showing. So hopefully.
So no matter where you go, March break is coming up. No matter where you go, you can choose and you can make healthy choices. You can have a ton of fun, and you will have a ton of fun, no matter what. We want, first and foremost, I want to tell you guys, I am not downgrading travel. I'm not saying not to travel. I'm saying if you get an opportunity, try something like we're talking about. Try it. You know, try it. You might love it. You might hate it. And no matter what, travel is great for you. We just want to open your eyes to kind of the way that we do things, and maybe, you know, open a little bit of curiosity. If this sparks interest into what you're doing, please reach out to us. We'd love to point you in the right direction of, you know, how we kind of book things, how we find the places we want to go, and the things that we do, and the workouts that we follow. You know, it's not complicated. I actually enjoy being out of the gym very much. We have a nice gym here. I did some weights yesterday, but enjoying ourselves with just beach workouts, things like that. So I hope that this podcast today sparks, you know, your interest in something a little bit different, maybe causes you just, you know, on Expedia tomorrow, just to search some things, you know, flights and hotels maybe separately instead of just looking for the all-inclusive. If you're going all-inclusive, have fun, have at her. Just be mindful of who you sit next to at the bar could greatly influence you on those things. We want to thank Ian and Kara Murray for all their support in you know, this podcast and sponsoring it. They are Kingsville OGGs, and you can follow them at Team Murray Insurance for all your insurance needs. Tomorrow we head to the jungle, the jungla. So this is the La Jungla for an amazing trip. We're going to go see one of the 7 wonders of the world, Chichen Itza. We're going to enjoy it. I cannot wait. What are you looking forward to most tomorrow?
Well, I love seeing new places, going places where I've never been before, and I love seeing the wonder in the kids' eyes. I also feel like I've heard great things about this place from people who I wouldn't expect that from, I guess, was what you would say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they say you can feel the energy when you show up.
yeah, I'm all about energy. So that's what I was trying to do this morning on the beach, was like, I think I was on the beach for like a good hour and a half, just like stepping in the water and into the sand and grounding. And I think that too, one of these books, this is a good idea if you're someone who doesn't know where to start, is getting like a Lonely Planet, or this book is a rough guide. And you can find a lot of things that are suggested on here that are not typical. So something that is like where you get kind of the Coles Notes of different areas. And it's a nice place to start, at least. So that's what I would recommend, is to get one of these books. And some of them are available on your phone too. You don't have to get the actual book, but I like paper. So.
Yeah, we love the real books, and Lonely Planet's a go-to for us when we travel. I think it's super easy, friendly. It's novice enough. Dani and I are not like backpackers we meet. Like, we are very novice to this still. I think it's something like people can very much benefit from. So for sure that I think, one of the things we talk about always on this podcast is just kind of make the most of your opportunities. And I think that's what we're trying to emphasize to you guys. So you get a chance to come to a country like this, go and see it for everything that it is worth. Coolest thing though, like, I want to thank all the listeners. We came around the corner. Dani and I had been at this place in Playa del Carmen for all of like 35 minutes. The first people we encounter, somebody looks up and says, "Oh my God, you're the garage gym guy." And I'm like, that is, I can't imagine. Celebrities probably like lose it with that. But like, for us being like, I have a few hundred listeners of this podcast. Every time somebody says that to me, man, it is just like a mind-blowing thing. And I'm so grateful of it. And then Dani comes around the corner and then they're like, "Oh my God, I'm your Dani." And that was like just an awesome thing. And, thank you every single person who listens to this podcast, who subscribes to this podcast. So please, rate, review, and subscribe. That helps us huge as we continue to grow this thing and hopefully deliver the best content possible. So thank you guys very much. I hope this one sounded okay and looks okay. We have no idea how it's going to turn out, being that we are on a balcony in Mexico, but over and out. Thank you very much.
Now's the time to do more and be more.